Today's show is brought to you by Brave Healer Productions. Experience what's possible. Today on Good Morning Joy, I am joined by the visionary duo behind the Human Summit, Kevin Hunting and Michael Neece. Kevin's a leadership and life transitions coach who helps people navigate big changes with courage and compassion. Michael is an author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur who brings a cosmic perspective to kindness, leadership, and the future we are all creating. Together, they are leading a global movement to build a kinder, more conscious, and connected world, no matter your background or identity. You are going to love this, and I am so excited to talk to these gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
So good. I'm so excited to have you both on here. We're talking about kindness. We're talking about humanity. We're talking about space. We're talking about it all. I'm just going to dive right in and just be able to find out a little bit about how the Human Summit came to life. I want to know, was this, a lightning bolt idea, or was a slow burning call?
I think for me, the initial idea was something that evolved over time, and it definitely came after the pandemic. What was driving it was seeing what was unfolding in the news about the political state, if you will, in the United States, understanding that there's an epidemic of loneliness, so that 1 in 3 adults basically identify as saying that they're lonely. There just were all these factors that started to really tug at my heart, and not tug at my heart like in a way that I was like, wait, where is this all going? Like the greater the distance that we have between each one of us as human beings, first and foremost, and the inability to be able to sit at the same table and have a discussion because we might believe something different, we may vote differently, we may identify differently, really really took me to a place where I was like, something's got to be done. Like something has to be done to address this. Then this idea slowly came into my mind, and I started to build the business case for it, which was really embedded in this idea of just helping people give them the tools and the space and a place and time where we can start to understand that our deepest commitment should always be to one another as human beings, and that in that there is so much beauty and value to be discovered, and yet we have forgotten how to discover.
Okay, I love. I'm already like, it's one question in, and I'm already emotional about this. That was so beautifully said, Kevin. Michael, I want to. He just said discover, and I immediately think about you and space and your background. Can you just talk a little bit about how exploration and exploring our humanity
Right.
really is, do you believe, going to change how we see each other and treat each other?
I think you're right on point there. I think we are curious creatures. And as long as we have some sort of new frontier to explore and discover, I don't think that we get restless and start sniping at each other. I think we start mounting our forces to get over that next ridge to see what's on the other side, get to that next planet so that we can find out more about the universe, more about ourselves. And so, yeah, just to dig in a little bit on that. When Kevin first came to me and said, "Hey, we should do this. This is a great idea that I've had." It was almost, Kevin, it was almost like you wrote the entire summary for me. It was like you had looked inside of my brain and my heart and said, "I'm going to write something for Michael Neece." And because it just resonated on this deep, deep level for me. I mean, it's like my life's work is to try to figure out how to get people to connect better and to use more kindness in our interactions. And so I think that's the fun part about the summit, is that other people, when they find out about it, they're going to feel the same way. I think Kevin has really, really dug into a piece of the human psyche that is going to resonate through any of the people who decide to show up.
What do you think was, as you talked about, Kevin, the pandemic and really what we uncovered during it, what do you think is the thing that, and I know this is a big question, but that holds us back from extending kindness or living in this space where we are so divided, as you talked about?
This is a very, I'd say, great question, but also complex to answer because I would say that where I go initially is thinking about how I think the biggest opportunity that each and every single one of us has is to first just be aware of what kindness could look like in our lives, or even reflect on what it does look like. We've all had experiences in our day-to-days where we can recall someone maybe extending an arm when we didn't even expect them to, or reaching out to us in a time when we really needed it. And again, had no idea that they were going to do that. And that somehow can literally put someone's life or day on a different trajectory. And so for me, it starts with awareness. And I believe that many people, we are so bombarded day to day in our daily jobs, our families, are taking care of, family members, or there's so many things that we're being bombarded with on a day-to-day basis that I feel that we just need to allow more space to be able to understand, where does kindness fit into my day, and how can I be more aware of it and more intentional about bringing it to life and understanding even what it means to me. How I know it makes me feel is something that we can give to another human being. And that is, again, where I think the power really lies, is just we need to stop and slow down sometimes, but we're all running. I think we're all running a mile too fast. What I would say is that we all are running too fast.
I love you're talking about awareness because I think that we all have well, I know we all have experienced kindness in our lives, but it's not often that we reflect on how that has shown up and all the small and little ways. And I do believe that if we were more conscious of that, if we did reflect on that, we would see how it shows up in everyday life, from the simple things like holding a door open for somebody or just checking in, or the person in front of you. I know these are obvious, but like letting you in front of the line. But these are the things, and I shared with you both privately, when I was going through that difficult time with my dad, and having a really hard time with my father who was dying. And that person who just asked if he can, well, he said buggy, but asked if he could take my buggy out of the shopping lot, the parking lot, and just out of nowhere. And that tiny thing was like, that brought me joy. That brought me relief. And so that awareness of how that happens every day in our lives is so powerful. So I'm glad you spoke about that. Michael, as you said that, Kevin like wrote this for you, created this for you. Has kindness always been a guiding force for you in your life, and sharing it, spreading it, making people aware of it? How does it fit in your world?
Gosh, I think that's the perfect question. I've been through 6 different industries at this point, and every time I go into one, I start a new role, I meet all the new people. It's the people that matter so much, right? I mean, the purpose of whatever whatever you're working on, you hope that it's an honorable purpose and it's one that is resonating with you. But it's the people around you that are also trying to get there. How are they treating you? Are they elbowing you out of the way to get to the really good, juicy treasures that they can get along the way? Are they going to get the promotion? Are they going to get more recognition than you? Or are they humble? Are they interested in furthering the mission? And so for me, I guess kindness has just evolved over time as this thing that I notice its absence for sure. I remember those times when somebody sends out that blistering email trying to embarrass somebody else in front of everybody else on CC. I remember those moments, but I also remember the moments where, somebody out of the blue said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. Do you mind if I mentor you? Because I think I have some other things that I can help teach you so that you can be better at this." I mean, out of the blue, for somebody to be so helpful and so kind, you remember these moments. And so, yeah, just over time, I have kind of collected these memories of when it was going great and when it wasn't going so great. And that's what speaks to me, is trying to, tend toward the great side of things and trying to also forgive ourselves and get back on track when we ourselves mess up, because good Lord, we're all human. We all make the mistakes once in a while, right?
I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know about myself not very often. So let's talk about being human. I'm curious, from both of your perspectives, what does being human mean to you? I'll start with you, Kevin.
Oof, being human. Being human to me is just the recognition that we've all been given a unique gift. which is really the gift of life. Into that every day we get up, we get to interact with amazing people, have these amazing experiences, and sometimes they're not so amazing. But it's the idea, it's a very simplistic idea that if we can see and recognize that each and every other person that we're actually experiencing or encountering possesses that same level of beauty that we all of us possess, that is the foundation to me of being human. And then what extends from that, if you want to think of it as like a tree with branches, is probably the idea of respect, the topic of kindness, again, treating people the way that you would want to be treated. And it's hard to do again when we're running. I think in given that there's certain situations and contexts in which we find ourselves, it's really easy to sometimes to be the I think the person that many of us don't want to be, and we may recognize it after the fact, but in those moments I think it's just understanding that wow, there is this amazing human being right in front of me, or I have this opportunity to connect with this person who probably has this amazing life, and I just want to know more about what their life is like, because I'm sure we can relate to one another. I'm sure there's the basic needs of the day, whether it's finding a new job, perhaps, paying rent, taking care of children. Just the idea of sharing in itself between two people to me has so much value. And I think many times we discount it because we don't really think about it again. We don't really give it the credit that's due, but yet it's the foundation, I think, of what creates really tight communities is when people can be seen, heard, and valued is really the basis of it.
I love that, and it sounds like it's being able to see when you talk about seeing the beauty in others, it's about that connection and giving us ourselves that space and time to find that connection between people by asking questions, by being curious. I love that, and we can go off on a whole tangent, but I wanna know from you, Michael, what does being human mean to you?
I think about this a lot because I come from this astronomical cosmic background. I've worked at 3 different planetariums across a lot of years. And I like the idea of zooming out and just really thinking of us in these really cosmic terms. I mean, if the universe is 93 billion light years across, we are hilariously tiny, right? And if the history of the universe up until this moment is 13.7 billion years, we are here for just a blink of time. And so when you think of it in those cosmic terms, okay, we're lucky to be in the universe, but we're even luckier to have each other, to keep each other company. And that means that if we're only here for a blink of time, it means that you, Shari, it means that you, Kevin, it means that everybody who's listening and watching, you are lucky to meet anybody you ever meet because the odds of you ever being in the same place at the same time are so astronomically tiny. There's something for you to learn from each other. There's something to cherish in each other. Maybe that other person knows how to do a really cool dance and they could teach that to you, or they know some cuisine that they can introduce you to, and vice versa. Maybe there's something that you're bringing to them, but if we see each other as treasures, I think that's where our humanity lies. It lies in those special, unique things that only each of us as individuals can bring to the table. So that's, for me, that's how I think about being human, is we are incredibly lucky to be in each other's presence.
I mean, I could see why you would have done like over 750 speaking engagement, like, because I was sucked right into that. Thank you for putting that perspective around it. Cause I know that I've thought about it on an individual level in terms of self-love and like, self-worth and being that one shot, the lottery of being here. But in terms of actually connecting with each other, and that time that we're given here in that blip of an eye, that's so powerful, and thank you for gifting me and all of us with that as we move forward in each day. What do you think, though, that your work in the space and cosmos, what does that teach us about being better humans?
Well, I mean, if you think about how tiny a space we occupy out of those, 93 billion light years across, I mean, we're in this tiny little space and we're only in this little fraction of the amount of time that the universe has been around. And so the idea is things are not always the same. My company is uh, my company's name is essentially focused on the idea of having the future, right? Our future is kind. I didn't call it our world should be kind or something like that, because I think it's easy for us to key into now and think of now as being like, oh, it's always been this way. I woke up yesterday, I woke up today, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and it's all going to be basically the same. When you're thinking about it in terms of longer term, when you're thinking about it in terms of like, what were things like 1,000 years ago for humans and what could they be like, then you really start to expand your mind. Then you really start to think, oh, wow, I could actually have little tiny ripples that could carry forward into a future that's hundreds or thousands of years from now. And wow, if I do it right, we could set up people in the future to have a great existence. So that's kind of how I see it in spacey, history terms.
And I keep calling it spacey because I just it is and it's cool and it's a great, and I had the honor of being on your podcast and you asked me that question about what a kind future looks like, and it was the first time that I'd ever really sat with that. And it could show up in all different ways. So I'm going to turn that around on both of you. And I'm sure you've had a time to think about it and probably have answered it a lot, but I'm going to cheat and ask you that question because it's such a great question. What about for you, Kevin? What does a kind future look like when you wake up out of bed? What does the world look like?
It doesn't look like what it is today. I'll start off by saying that it's, to me, a kind future. The notion where Michael might go to a cosmic place, I go to a psychological place. I go to the idea that each and every one of us, if we don't elevate and understand our own consciousness around some of these topics, collectively, that is when energy can actually shift and change. Meaning that as a collective, if more people could raise their levels of consciousness around this idea that joy is plausible, that I can actually experience greater happiness in my day to day through my own thoughts and being, that to me is where the work has to be done. It's where it starts, because just in most research around this topic, telling people what to do and how to do it typically never works. And the reason it never works is because you're not getting curious and helping someone discover for themselves what that even looks or means like to them, which is the ability to raise our levels of consciousness, is to be able to explore these ideas together. And that's part of the Human Summit. But to me, I feel like the first step is really trying to reach people on a deeper level and allowing them to space to do the work that's necessary so that they can, I think, increase their levels of consciousness. The flip side of this is many people are in survival mode. Many people are in Maslow's como hierarchy of needs. Many people are just trying to survive day to day, which makes it almost impossible for them to be able, I think, to put this into practice. They can't even. The way that our mind works and the neuromapping is that if we're in survival mode, it becomes almost impossible to put some of these topics and ideas into practice because you're just trying to survive. So that's where I feel like that to me is the biggest opportunity. But then the collective impact of that is that we live in a world where we actually are making decisions based on the fact that not only what's right for me or what's best for me, and I could care less about you, but we start to make decisions that are based on what's best for all of us. How can every single individual benefit from a political decision that I may be making, or a new policy that I might be implementing, or how I'm going to walk into this room and actually show up is not thinking about what I'm going to get or my own selfish needs. We're going to put our egos aside and really start to think more broadly about the collective and the benefits to the collective. That to me is what a kinder world will start to look like. And that's sort of the how, I think, to get there.
Whew, as you're saying it, and I am optimistic and I am positive. I am the queen of that. Just a quick question for you. Do you, I imagine, as I'm saying this out loud, do you think that that is possible in our time here, in our blip of the time, to be able to get people to think about others, to make decisions based on a collective?
I think it's possible because I do think it's taking place in more micro, sort of micro places or micro locations, if you will, like more smaller geographic locations or in local communities. Yeah, I mean, many organizations and businesses out there say that this is what they're trying to practice. For many of them is the idea of putting kindness into place in the workplace, for example. But again, if someone isn't given the tools, the space, or I think the space to be able to reflect on again what that is for them and what that even means for them, that's where I feel like this can happen. I believe it can happen. But I think if you look at, for example, politics in the United States, the way our political system is set up is that someone wins and someone loses. And we talk about it that way. Even the language that we hear every single day on every news cycle is that someone has to win and someone has to lose. And I don't believe in a zero sum game. I believe that we can actually leaders can embody this idea that we can make decisions that benefit as many people as possible and start to put those into place. But it's going to require a Herculean effort. And the Human Summit is
I was just
one
gonna say that.
one
Yeah.
little blip towards this. That's really what it is. For me, it's
And I see it as a major, massive blip coming that you guys are going to impact. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. The details, I want to know more about it. I want to know how people can get involved. But I do want to ask you, Michael, because it is your question. What does a kind future for you look like?
A kind future for me looks like people who show up in good faith are honored and revered, where every voice matters. If those are voices that are inclusive and more than just tolerant, but embracing of differences. My ideal future is Star Trek, where it doesn't matter who shows up. If it's an android or it's a shimmering orb of light, it is a green woman or a blue man, it is some, squid looking thing. It doesn't matter. Those are just containers for our consciousness and for our compassion. That's it. These are just containers. And so if you're showing up in good faith and you're there to try to help each other out and be very curious and have an adventurous spirit, that is my best future. So I'm thinking the kinder future that we can build through the summit it's that kind of thing. We can build that together. If people show up to the Human Summit and they have something that feels broken, maybe it's in their own personal lives, maybe it's in their home, maybe it's at the workplace or in their communities. Bring that with you. That's the thing that we'll talk about. We will try to get some ideas, some strategies for you to be able to solve it. It may take some time, but hey, at least it's a handhold on that cliff climb as you're trying to build that better future. So my idea of that kinder future could easily start with the Human Summit. If you're not sure where else to go, we have a home for you.
I love that. So let's talk. Let's talk about the Human Summit. Tell me what it looks like. I register for it. What am I going to experience that day?
you're going to leave a different person after coming to the Human Summit. Thank you for sharing. It's November 13th. It is a virtual online event. What you will get is some very powerful, highly inspired speakers that you're going to be able to witness their energy, their thoughts. And so there will be two speakers, and I'll just throw their names out. We've got Linda Cohen, and we've also got Brian Byro, who will be with us. We also, Shari, have you, which is going to be the most fabulous thing on a panel where we're discussing about human connection and really dimensionalizing this in ways that are going to help people. So we've got that, but the most important piece of this puzzle is that a majority of that time that we're going to spend together is going to be highly interactive and dynamic, where individuals will get to participate and again have the space to do that reflection, have the space to be able to understand how what does kindness mean, maybe to me, starting with ourselves, but then to understand how can I bring it to life in a more meaningful, intentional way in my day to day. And so we're going to arm you with some action. You'll leave this with actions that you're going to take, hopefully, so that this does have a ripple effect. And the idea is really that this is the community. If you come, you will be a part of a group of people that, again, regardless of your background and identity, just believe that we can live in a world where kindness can flourish, where we can think about one another, maybe in more meaningful ways sometimes, and discover more about who we are as human beings and understand that that is just powerful and beautiful in itself.
I love that you're creating this container. I'm excited to be a part of it, but a chance for us to connect and really understand each other, and maybe in a place where we normally wouldn't connect with someone, that we have this opportunity and to be able to see these parts of ourselves. Michael, what are you looking most forward to at the summit?
I'm looking forward to the fly on the wall moments where there's a breakout group and you have people who've shown up into this discussion and somebody's really upset and feeling like I feel powerless. There's so much news coming at me and I feel like I just don't have a way of overcoming that. How do I do that? How do I fix that? And where everybody in the group just comes and embraces them and supports them and gives them some great strategies to overcome that overwhelm. So that's a big piece of it. I have to also say though that I'm really excited about the community that we're building. Right now we have a Facebook group, and so people are able to go in there and answer questions and give their vote on different polls, be able to see little video clips from some of the people who are going to be movers and shakers within the summit on the big day. And so get a kind of a flavor of some of the people who are there and conducting these things. So yeah, and then after this is over, it's not like it's done, right? We're planning on doing more years of the Human Summit, and we'll still have that Facebook group. And we've also partnered with KindWorks AI. They have a special AI facility, this little bot that you can plug into. It's only certain applications right now, but it's something that will help you enhance your own kindness practice. So, I mean, there's just so many exciting things about the Human Summit. It's like you just asked me, which child is my favorite child? All of them. All of them are my favorite.
Well, if I was your child, I would hope it would be me.
It would be Shari.
Okay, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. There's still a child in there. So someone's watching right now and, in their life, they think that this sounds amazing, right? But at the same time, they're just trying to survive their own day. They are in survival mode. And so the idea of even being able to come together and look out for somebody else is overwhelming to them. Just as you talked about action and what's going to be within this Human Summit, is there one action, and I'll ask each of you maybe that first shift that they can take or make to be able to get out of that place where they actually maybe can think about somebody else, and get out of this fight or flight mode?
The first step for this individual is not thinking about others. Their first step is to understand for themselves, how are they demonstrating kindness to themselves in their day-to-day? Where is kindness showing up for you in your day-to-day choices and just for yourself? Because it's really even hard to think about others without first going inward and understanding, what does that even mean for myself? And a lot of it shows up as judgment. Again, psychologically speaking, we are so trained from an early age to just beat ourselves up. We love to make it about us, that we did something wrong, that we missed this, or that we made a mistake, or that, and again, our thoughts have energy. So when you keep repeating that to yourself, your life becomes the lived expression of what that even means for you. And so I would say that for any of those individuals, know that it's understandable that you probably are exactly where you are right now and you're in survival mode, but find maybe one moment in a day where you can show and demonstrates what kindness would be for you. If you were extending yourself the kindness that you so easily sometimes extend to others, what does that look like for you? And how can you do it just a bit more?
I love that. And maybe that kindness, that first step is even signing up for the Human Summit. Maybe that is a kind act for themselves. It's powerful. What about for you, Michael? Is there something that you feel like they can take?
I want to bring a little bit of science into this.
Okay.
If you've ever watched one of these competitions on TV where you have these professional athletes and they're competing against, avid amateurs, people who, they're sort of the weekend warriors, and so they're all supposed to like lift a certain weight a certain number of times, and they have to do it across, a certain amount of time. What you find is that the people who are the weekend warriors and they're these avid amateurs, they'll go in and they'll just push and they will try to lift as many weights as they can. And then they just wear themselves out, but they don't stop. They just keep going and they wear themselves out, and they do not win. They don't even come close. because the professional athletes, they'll do, 10 reps of 25 each. And if that's not enough rest time, they'll take a bit more rest time. And then they'll get right back into it. And it's by doing those punctuated moments of, I'm going to do a lot of work, and now I'm going to take a break for me. Now I'm going to do more work, and I'm going to take a break for me. I mean, Kevin, you've already said it beautifully. People are in survival mode and they think that they just have to keep sprinting. And what happens is you're going to give yourself a stroke, people. Don't do that. You've got to slow down. You've got to pause. And you've got to take those deep breaths and take good care of yourselves. So I would say that is one of the first kind acts you can do is take that. It's exactly what Kevin said. Take that moment, take that break, show yourself some kindness and some compassion. But also remember, the science backs it up. If you just keep straining yourself, you will not win. You will come in last place, and you should never be put last.
Never. I am so appreciative of the two of you, of gifting us with this summit, allowing us all to be a part of it, trying to make the world better. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it really is. But it is. It is not cheesy, but
No, if
it will make
we
the
don't do it, who will, right?
right. Right.
That
And
Yeah.
it does start with those simple acts. And I love that. And I appreciate it. I'm going to run through some really fun questions with you and like a speed round. But before I do that, tell us one more time how we can attend the Human Summit and the details about it. The
So if
logistics.
you the link that you shared, if you go to that link, which is thehumansummit.com, you can find a whole host of information. The day is going to include two amazing, powerful speakers, a panel discussion, and then majority of the time we are going to spend together as a community, just connecting as human beings and being able to understand what this means in our lives if we were extending kindness to ourselves in a bigger way. So that's the gist of it. Come, you're invited. Please be there.
And just go to your calendar right now and block off November 13th. That's World Kindness Day. You don't want to have something else that accidentally gets scheduled there. So,
Yes, love that. All right, so let's do this quick speed round. I'm just going to bounce back and forth between the both of you, and I'm going to start with you, Michael. What is something that you believed 5 years ago that you do not believe anymore?
I'll go back to the case of just running and running and running. Within the last 5 years, I've had a stroke. I'm a fairly young person to be having a stroke, but I had one because I just believed that you just have to push yourself, get minimal sleep, just achieve it all. So that's something I believe now is self-care is incredibly important.
Kevin, what is your favorite unofficial human superpower?
It sounds cheesy, but the most amazing superpower is love. It's love. That's what it is.
Yes. Michael, what's a weird or unexpected habit that actually helps you stay grounded or joyful?
I love to juggle. Just it's mesmerizing, and you can't think of anything else while you're doing it.
I read that you do that in the stairwell.
At one point, it was 4 balls walking up 6 flights of stairs every morning. So yeah.
Okay. Kevin, this might be difficult, so either of you could go for it. What if the Human Summit were a song? What would the vibe be? Would it be an anthem, a meditation track, a dance party? What do we got?
It would be Katy Perry's song "Fireworks."
Ooh.
I love that.
I would go with Jewel. What is it? Small Hands, or Hands is the name of the song.
Yes.
But there's this one moment where she's singing, "In the end, only kindness matters."
I
Love that.
Oh, so good. I want to end on that, but I do want to know this last question. And this is for both of you. What is one thing that you wish people knew about you that doesn't show up in your bio?
I tried out for the Junior Olympic National Gymnastics team in Colorado Springs, which is the training center where you train if you're an American athlete. So I did it for 16 years and I tried out for the Junior Olympic National Gymnastics team.
Wow, powerhouse. Look at you. What about you, Michael? What is something that you would want people to know?
So I'll go with a piece of shame that I have healed over the years. Very early on, I got a job and I became a backstabbing, conniving, not so great employee because that's what everybody else was doing. And there was this boss that was just not acting right, was not doing good things. And so I fought fire with fire. And so I guess what I would want people to know that's not on my resume or in my bio, it's that I found a better way. That there's a better choice to be made than fighting fire with fire. You can learn compassion. You can learn all of these tools to treat other people with kindness, even the ones that you're really frustrated by. It's possible.
I will remember that the next time I talk to my partner. And this wouldn't be Good Morning Joy without this one last question. Kevin, what is something that secretly, I say secretly specifically, brings you joy?
There's so many things that bring me joy. The one that's coming to mind, just as you say it, is nature. I love just being in nature, witnessing really like animal species. I know that sounds crazy, but I love observing animal species. I probably should have been an anthropologist instead of a sociologist, is what I studied. So I love, yeah, it brings me joy to just witness the power of what I call creation. It's just there's so much beauty in all of that.
By the way, I hug trees. It's my secret joy. So when you said nature, I'm all down with that. What about for you, Michael? What is something that secretly brings you joy?
Maybe it's not too secret because I talk about it a lot. I love raspberries. I don't know why, but I just raspberry pie, raspberries in my oatmeal. I love the flavor of fresh fruit in general, but the flavor of raspberries is just so distinct and unique, and it just makes me happy every time I get it.
I just salivated. Thank you both so much for being a part of Good Morning Joy, for creating the Human Summit, for caring enough about us and about our future and the world to be able to bring us all together. Don't forget, everybody, to go register right now for the Human Summit at thehumansummit.com. I can't wait to see you both there and learn more about you.
Can't wait to see you on the panel.
Thank you both so much.